And be ready with Safety Man. Welcome to Safety Man Security Consulting, safetyman.co. I'm Corey Jones, owner of Safety Man Security Consulting. And at Safety Man, we do 3 things to keep you safe. The first we do is TASER training and sales. TASERs are legal in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York City with training. And at Safety Man, I was one of the first New Jersey law enforcement officers to train people and officers in TASER use. We also do active shooter training. We can come out and put together a specific active shooter training plan for your office, your school, your daycare, your house of worship, any event that you're having. We have a lot of people. And finally, we do verbal judo training, tactical communication, the art of getting people, clients, suspects, anyone to come around and do the right thing without using violence. So go to Safety Man Security Consulting, safetyman.co to make you safer. Now, to help streamline the rest of your business, we got my good friend here, Larry Schwartz, who's a VP of Sales for MTS Software Solutions. Larry, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about MTS, please.
Yeah, I'd love to. Just like you do, I have 3 things that my company does well. But before I say that, I've been with the same company now 32 years. Got the job out of college. I know I don't look that old, but I've been there 32 years now in October of last year. We do really document imaging, and what that is the management of your paper documents. The first phase that we do I'd like to talk about is paper scanning, because everyone has paper. So if you have like a lot in your storage facility, or if you have a lot of cabinets you can't find, we will physically take that paper and scan it right here in New Jersey. We have a place in Morristown. The company is MTS. We have a level 4 security, which is the highest you can get in New Jersey, and we're SOX certified. I know you don't like me to talk too much about certifications and things, but that just lets you know that we're able to do a lot of secure things like data from medical records, which are HIPAA compliant.
Okay.
We're able to do things that are more or less credit card information or mortgage documents. And for the most part, what we do differently than other companies is we like to scan things in 2 different places and then have them meet up and have 2 people look at that document and index it. So if someone sees a 6 and another person should see an 8, what would it do? It would go right to a supervisor for approval, and they would be able to look at it very largely on the screen and determine what that was. Where I think most people kind of skip over that process and just have one person doing it, which if you do have an error while you're scanning something and indexing it, it's very difficult to find it again if I thought it was a 6 and it really was an 8.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I think we do differently than other people. The other is that we do a lot of background checks to get these certifications. So we have cameras on people all the time. They're not allowed to bring in cell phones or anything that you could take a picture with of that stuff that they're doing it. The best part about my job is I get to help people that have too much paperwork and they can't find things.
Right, yeah.
So, when you're scanning a backlog, conversion is one thing, but they also have maybe some other things that they would want to convert. As an example, we do other databases that might possibly be something that has been sunsetted. That means it's just not longer used anymore. And what we could do is take that data, that might be pertinent information, and put that into their new system. So now they have the old with the new, and then everything that was converted from microfilm or from paper, all into one system, and then they could find it a lot easier that way.
As opposed to somebody sitting in the background going, just flipping through papers.
Well, believe it or not, a lot of people keep it in their basement, so they have to physically get up from their desk. They have to walk down the steps. Sometimes these places aren't exactly the most illuminated places to find things, so they end up bringing a box up from the basement to look at it. And all of this could be mitigated by just having it scanned and have it available on their network. Now, the other thing is, as a side note, you get a little disaster recovery, because if you scan your records and you have them here on your network and then you off-site these onto like a USB stick, which you could store about 1 million images on like a little USB stick.
Right.
Put that in a fireproof vault somewhere. Now you have a disaster recovery plan where you didn't have one before. All you had was the basement with all the boxes.
Right. So you're definitely one of the companies that I would refer my clients to, because that's one of the things we talk about, is that mitigation of anything. If you have an active shooter event, so like they had at some big stores, and that store is now a crime scene and you can't get into your physical stuff, you've given us a solution where you can get it in a couple of different ways immediately.
Exactly. In fact, usually we have a Florida office that has everything on there, as well as a office up here in New Jersey in Morristown. And during most of the hurricanes in Florida, we're able to be up and running 24/7 and find that information. But during Hurricane Sandy, believe it or not, it was the other way around, where we were closed up here, but we were gathering and getting all the information from that server that was down in Florida.
Yeah, see, that's great. So it's a redundancy, backup, and that peace of mind, right?
Oh, not only those things, but you're also able to do your job faster. Just imagine, if you had to get up from your chair to find something on a file versus I'm on my computer right now and I'm looking at it on the screen.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I say, well, the person's on the phone asking for whatever information they're looking for, you could actually answer it right there off of the screen versus I'll call you back.
Yeah. So how did this get started 30 some odd years ago? Because
Sure.
I'm sure the technology's got to be.
That's a great question. Not to show my age, but back then it was all microfilm. So just like they did in the spy movies where they had the little tiny cameras and they would take a picture and they would put it onto this microfilm, that technology was used after to actually take documents and information and put those on to microfilm, and then these machines that were called microfilm reader printers, you'd be able to look at them. You'd probably still see them at the library with the New York Times and things like that, but it used to be very prevalent in business, especially in a lot of like hospitals and medical records.
And then there was a transition to make it faster, more secure, both?
Well, it was very difficult to add to it. They would have to cut and slice the film and put them into these jackets. I wish I had some here to show you, but again, that's boring, so you don't want to see that. Really, what you could do now is I could take a sheet number 3, make it number 4. I could scan something and make it a revision. So this is what the pricing used to be, but here's what the new pricing is. So you could do a lot more with it, and of course you could do other data that maybe is digital already. So as an example, if you were to get things that were coming in via email, you could now put those directly into that folder without having to ever take a copy of that email or print it and then scan it.
Okay. So one of the things that I find it's prevalent now is body cameras for law enforcement and a lot of other things, or any kind of digital recording, video recording. So you have that data, and I know a lot of agencies are struggling with managing and marrying the video data with some audio data and then the written reports all together. And you're saying
and
there's
just
a
like
solution
your
for
own
that.
background in police, right now in Philadelphia, what they're able to do is they're able to take all the data that comes in from either the cam that's on them or from the cruiser and embed that into the actual file. So just imagine, if you will, you have a 911 incident. I could take the audio recording, I could take the video of the cruiser or the body cam, and I could embed that into the actual written file of that 911 tape. So instead of going to the audio room and then going to the visual room and then going to wherever the filing cabinets are, you could have all that on your PC. With one click, you could actually hear everything or see everything that you need to see.
And that's great for the transparency that they're looking for, right? And accountability for officers. And I guess that should make the civilians feel much better that all that stuff is there, and obviously it's going to be protected, right?
Oh, absolutely. You'll have like permissions of who could see it. And of course, if one person can't see the audio or the video, but they could see everything else, you could have those permissions there as well. The best part about it is that your file is all in one place, and if you wanted to now move that somewhere and have someone else look at it, it's very easy to do so, where before it would take maybe days or even a week to get all of that data together to send out to somebody, especially someone going to trial.
Right, and then something slips through the cracks and somebody thinks they're being shady or whatever.
Sure.
See, I love that.
And the software that we do is called OnBase, and how it works in the city of Philadelphia Police is they're able to search over databases. So just imagine, if you will, before this software came out, they had to go into an FBI database. Then they had to go into a city database. Then they had to go into a state database. And they even had 2 other ones that I can't remember what the names of them were, but they had to search over 5 different databases just to find a document. Now, with our new software that we sell them, you could go over all 5 of these databases and pull back the information without ever leaving your native application. And it's just really, really a powerful tool for law enforcement, because they really don't have to spend as much time sort of hunting for files as they used to in the past. Let them hunt for the bad guys, right?
Exactly, that's the fun part. When they told me, Corey, write it down, I was like, rolling my eyes, like, can't I just go get another fish? They're like, you catch it, you clean it, right?
Yeah, right. Well, hopefully this makes the cleaning a little bit easier for you guys. And certainly law enforcement is one that's really dear to my heart, but there are a lot of other types of business applications that are probably more common that you could use a piece of software to, again, mitigate some of these manual processes that you have. So as an example, everyone hires people. You could have an HR onboarding system where, you might need 10, 15 different pieces of paper to hire someone depending on what kind of job it is. And this will keep track of what you have already in the queue, what's missing from the queue, and possibly if we do a thing called workflow, where it is in the process of being hired. Is it at the level where someone is looking at it to review their background check, or is it at a level where we're just making sure that the interview process is set up?
Right.
So you can tell somebody where you are in that process of hiring and onboarding.
That's awesome. I hear a lot of people actually struggle with that too.
They do, and I think the one thing that they never think about is everyone really knows how the onboarding process is now offboarding. So as an example, we have clubs like the Union League in New Jersey, in Philadelphia, that has an offboarding system where they take back the tablet, they take back the cell phone, and all these things that you have to sign for are in that packet. So they're able to say, oh, I did receive that cell phone. Oh, I did get back that laptop. I did, and all of those things that you have to get when you unfortunately decommission somebody.
Yeah. It's great that you're saying this, and we didn't talk about this before, but that's another question that I get for the security side. So that's the paperwork side or the digital side of offboarding somebody, but a lot of times I'll get the question, how do we actually fire somebody safely? And I think it makes it a lot easier if you can make sure that you're going to have all that digital hardware, permissions, passwords, all those things taken care of, and you don't have to, oh, we forgot this, and have to reach back out. So that's going to allow you to focus on keeping yourself safe by having all that set up beforehand.
I think the best part about it is you'll have that paper trail, if you will, of how this started. Because everything that you have that is digital, we can get someone to sign off on, whether that's with what we call DocuSign, which is like their signature, or whether it's just a click that they've read that information. So if you were to warn somebody once, twice, or 3 times, whatever the process is, you'll have that in digital format that you could produce and say, listen, we've already given you 3 warnings, and that's why you were terminated. However, we could also do that with training. So as an example, back to law enforcement, every year you would have to be trained on your radar, you'd have to be trained on your weapons, and this could send an email to that officer saying that that permission is coming up and that your training is going to be due the next following week.
Right.
And of course you have to click that you've read it
Right.
and that you're going to be there.
Yeah.
So you could say that you actually read it and that you knew next Wednesday is going to be that time.
Well, it's also time for us to take a break.
Oh, sorry.
I got an email somewhere in my ear. So we'll be back in about 2 minutes after we pay these bills. Larry, I'll see you in about 2 minutes.
All right.
TV is a platform for people of any industry to share their story. Over 285,000 viewers are tuning in to RVN TV shows monthly. We guarantee a great experience that you'll be sharing with everyone you know while increasing your personal and company's brand awareness. But what is your brand? According to Forbes, it's a combination of your logo, your product, your design and feel, and your personality. Did you know that aside from being a guest, we offer even more opportunity to boost your brand? Adding your company logo and website on screen during your interview will allow viewers to recognize your brand instantly. Incorporating images and video clips is another great way to showcase your product during your live segment. Let viewers see how good you really are. And most importantly, there's you and your interview. For less than the cost of a newspaper, direct mail, or a magazine ad, you can leave our studio and within 48 hours have a permanent digital copy of your live segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
All right, we're back. Thanks for coming back. I'm Corey Jones with Safety Man Security Consulting. I'm here with my buddy Larry Schwartz, VP of Sales for MTS Software Solutions. Yes, he's wearing an awesome tie today. So we were talking about how your digital solutions and software solutions can just smooth the process for any company.
Sure.
And you were going to talk a little bit about the hardware side of it too.
I am. So, when we talked earlier, you asked me what did we do before scanning came out, and
Yeah.
what we did before was microfilm, as I mentioned. So we have a lot of technicians out in the field that are trained for microfilm, but as it moved into a more digital format and we were able to do scanners, we just cross-trained them on how to use scanners. So the same people that would go out and service your microfilm equipment in the library now service these hard, big scanners that scan 500 sheets a minute, front and back,
Wow.
on site. And we have a claim that we're there within 4 hours of the time that you place the call. So there's two ways of doing it. One way is if they're small enough, you could mail it to somebody and they mail you back one that is fixed and ready to go. But if it's a really big machine that has a lot of volume, we like to be on site within 4 hours of the time that you place the call.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you know what's nice about it is that a lot of the people that have come up and done the microfilm now do the scanners for the same company, so they have like a long-term relationship. I would say the average employee at our company has about 15 years with the with MTS.
So
right now.
it's like you guys are like a family.
It is, and what's nice about it is, you know, being like a family, the customer feels a lot more comfortable with you,
Right.
and they're seeing the same faces and the same people. We really don't have a large turnaround time.
But yeah, which is good. And again, so now if I call and I talk to you and then I talk to somebody else because you happen to be off that day, I'm probably still going to get that same
Absolutely.
same information. One, because of your digital solutions, they'll be able to see it right there, of course.
Exactly, exactly.
Right.
But just just to recap, we have the scanning that we do for customers. We have the hardware, and of course we have the software. So really we could be a part of any of that digital solution anytime. We could do just the software, we could do just the hardware, or we could do just the scanning, or we could do all three.
So if a new company is coming on, it could benefit them to tap MTS Software Solutions for just right out of the gate.
Oh yeah, and even with software, there's a lot of things that we could do. If someone has a document imaging software, it doesn't mean that they can't use MTS to help with that. So as an example, we have a lot of front-end capture. Now, what is front-end capture? Front-end capture means it could take a document, read what it is, and tell you what it is. So I'll use mortgage as an example. In a mortgage, when I bought a house, I don't know about you, but I had to get 20 different pieces of paper.
Yeah.
I had to have a HUD, I had to have a credit app, all of these things can be read without someone typing anything. It could be scanned, it could be say, this is Larry's I-9, this is Larry's credit application, this is his HUD, and it will put that into a file and even write on that file my name. So no one is sitting there in the old days, writing out on a manila folder and then putting these pieces, they call that collation of documents.
Yeah.
So they have people that do this all day long. What I could do to mitigate that is I could scan it, it does that and it creates that folder, and then of course you'd be able to do more mortgages a month as a mortgage company.
Right.
Now you might think 2 or 3 more mortgages a month isn't a lot, but for a mortgage company, it's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And that level of accuracy is going to be there. The level of security is going to be there.
Oh, not only that, but it's you could call or check in on where your mortgage is, and they could tell you exactly where that is in the process, where before they would probably have to tell you to hold on and someone would call you back later that day.
Right. And even then, they're still like, we still don't have this, and like, I sent this.
Yeah, oh, that happens
Yeah.
all the time. Well, most of the information comes in a mail or someone drops it off. However, recently, more people have been using digital stuff. So just imagine if you're in Outlook, and I'm sure you've been in Outlook on a daily basis, you could have a little button there that sends it to your file. So without you having to learn any software, what you can do is just be in Outlook and have that little hot button and then say, oh, here's the attachment that has my credit app in it. Let's put that directly into that file. Or if you wanted the whole email with that, you could put that into there. Now we're going to use a word that you don't like called OCR. What it does, OCR stands for Optical Character Recognition. What it does is it tells me that this is Larry's I-9 without typing anything. And that's really where I come in. If I could stop a company from typing, and if you have people like maybe 10 or 20 all day long typing information in, I'll guarantee you that what I could do is I could make that go away and have them just do maybe the exceptions to what it misses.
Right. So you're processing faster, you're more accurate. Yeah.
So where that really lends itself is an accounts receivable payable application. You're having unstructured data that's coming in via envelopes. You're opening the envelope, you're taking out this invoice, and you're scanning it and it's going. Now, before scanning it, you would have to type the information right off of that. So you're looking at the document, you're in your host system, and you're typing what you're seeing on the document and making sure it matches up with your financial system. Now what we could do is we could scan it, and it could do a two-way match or a three-way match, and be able to say that this isn't accurate. So if you ordered 10 boxes of paper and you only got 8, it could reconcile that bill. And all of this is done without any human intervention.
Right. Right, so that's even better than Michael Scott Paper Company or Dunder Mifflin.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know, one of the companies that we do business for is, and they had 37 people actually doing all of these invoices by typing it in down in Delaware. Now they only have 2 people doing the exceptions that it didn't read, or it wasn't sure if it read it correctly. It wanted someone to take a look at it.
Okay. Okay. So can you wrap this up for me? Like, if I'm a business and I'm not sure exactly what my problem is,
Sure.
I would reach out to you or somebody at MTS Software Solutions and say, we're having a problem in X, Y, and Z, and you would be able to help troubleshoot them or come?
Exactly. So we have experts in all 3 of the silos that I mentioned before. We have one expert that will come out and tell you how much it would be to scan all that backlog that you have, whether it's in a filing cabinet, whether it's in boxes, whether it's in a storage unit. We will come on site, not only do a sample for you, but show you the difference. Because, you know, a lot of people, when they scan paper, they scan it on what we call a multifunctional device. And the problem with that is if it goes in a little crooked, it stays that way. If it goes in upside down, you have to put it right side up. If it has a front and a back, sometimes you have to delete the blank pages. All of this can be done with a high-speed scanner. And once it's done, we could show you a sample of what it would look like. And that's really where you get someone to open their eyes and say,
Yeah.
oh, wow, I could scan this whole filing cabinet for a couple $100.
Wow. Yeah, and then you have now room for something else?
Right, then you would want to be self-sufficient, so you would
Yeah.
bring in a scanner for them for day going forward, for them to be able to now scan their work without having me to come back out and do it for them. Of course, I'd be more than happy to come out.
Well, yeah, of course.
And then last but not least, the software that can manage it, index it, and store it in a safe manner that you can now access it, again, through emails, through web portals.
Right, right. So that's going to be up in the cloud?
Well,
type
it
of
could
a
be
thing?
in the cloud or on premises. Okay. So we have 2 versions. We have the cloud version where you sign up on a monthly subscription. The only problem is that you're always going to have that monthly subscription.
Right.
If you were to purchase it one time and put it onto your server, that would be a one-time fee, and then you could have that for years and years and years.
Right, right. And then you're still going to give them the solutions to be able to put it on their own cloud or put it on their own thumb drive so they can have the offsite.
Oh, 100%.
So when they
Now,
buy that data, it's their data.
really, the best way to offsite something is to put it onto a fireproof vault, whether it's on a large hard drive, because some of these hard drives are about $120, but they store 2 million pieces of paper. And it's so worth it to purchase that
Right.
and to offsite that somewhere. Now, of course, using the cloud is great, but if your network's down, you know and I know,
Yeah.
you won't be able to access that. However, this drive, you could pop that into any PC and be able to access it in an emergency.
That's incredible. I love how we can use technology and leverage it for us. Now, everything's moving towards 5G. Is that going to help you guys with 5G, with data speeds, for remote, anything like that?
It will for performance when you're looking at like the videos that we mentioned earlier or things like that. But for the most part, if you're up in the cloud, it's really your PC that's going to see if I can get it quicker.
Yeah, so it's still back to your own
Exactly.
software and hardware to do that. So back to MTS Software Solutions. How do I get a hold of you? How do I find you? Websites, emails, contact information?
Sure, sure. So, obviously, our website is MTS Software Solutions. You could go on there and look at videos that we have of us doing any 3 of these different things I discussed, whether it be scanning work, which we did a big job probably 4 years ago for PSE&G that we just finished. It was getting them out of Newark. They had all their engineering drawings, all these old things. We were able to scan all of that, put it onto their network, and then be able to access it now through a portal where everyone in the company could see these drawings that have access to do so. And again, we're here in Morristown, New Jersey. People are more than welcome to come out and view our facility and see how safe and secure it is. To get in the building, you need a card swipe and a keypad to punch in. So if I should lose my badge,
Right.
someone won't be able to get in because they won't have my key punch. And of course, more importantly than that, once you get through, there's another entrance to go into where we would call it the inner sanctum, where we actually
Yeah.
do the scanning work for you.
That's incredible. So Larry Schwartz, MTS Software Solutions, is the company that we're talking about today. If you want to get a hold of Larry, do you got an email real quick?
Sure, my email address is L and my last name Schwartz, SCHWARTZ, at MTS-software.net.
Awesome. Larry, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming out. Hopefully I never need to get any access to the cloud, but if I do, I'll call you.
Okay.
Thanks for Safety Man Security Consulting, and be ready. Come back next week. Be safe.